All right. Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. This is DFS Army's NBA pre-lock show where we are here to walk through the slate, show you what we're doing, sharing B-Dubs' screen today. But, we had a fun weekend, had some football, and we're back on a Monday. How are you feeling, man?
Feeling good. I didn't play much of anything this weekend. Been pretty busy, but definitely ready to get back to it tonight. Looking like a overall fun slate, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you. I took a little bit of a break from the NBA streets, but I usually do that on the weekend. But football was fun. Football was a lot of fun. Even though bit of a buzzkill for the Broncos, Bo Nix getting hurt after winning the game.
So
That's just
so tough.
worst case scenario, but don't rule them out. We've seen this before where teams can still win a game. So we'll see. Anyway, good to see y'all. Cujo, Nova, Long Win, everybody. Good to see y'all. Forgot I reserved lines until I got the notification in the Discord for the show. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad we got you going. That would have sucked. And yeah, we'll get some low owned plays going. We have a 7-game slate on deck tonight, so we don't have too much time to waste. But if you want to get the fast forward version, early games are kind of gross. Late games are where you want to get exposure. But starting off for this first game, we have the Suns going up against the Sixers. 222.5 point spread. Second lowest total on the slate, with the closest spread on the slate at 2 points. For the Suns, they are 100% completely healthy. Big thing here, Jalen Green is playing tonight for the first time in a while. Mark Williams was questionable, had like a late Q tag, and then he ended up getting ruled in, so he's still going to play. So with that being said, how do you feel about the Suns?
Yeah, this team is very gross. Very when they're all healthy, especially with Jalen Green back in the mix. I mean, he'll be limited, but still will play enough to muddy the water for everybody. So very disappointing because the Sixers are one of the teams we love to target, but really hard to pinpoint anybody here. I did, however, take one shot. I usually have a philosophy of when Embiid is out, I will attack that front court. So I put a 10% min on Mark Williams. I think he's just too cheap for this spot. He has 40 to 50 point upside. As long as he sees the minutes, which he should in this spot, I'm willing to take a shot on him. So that's my only go to here. Kind of skip past everybody else.
I like that. I mean, for me, y'all know I like getting exposure to guys who had a Q tag anyway, just because their ownership's going to be lower. But you put it behind the rationale of attacking a weak front court without Embiid, I'm in. I'll put a 10% min on Mark Williams with you. I wasn't looking at him before, but I don't hate having exposure to this first game. Other side of it, we have the 76ers, and this Phoenix defense is legit. Not a team I like to pick on too much, but like you mentioned, Joel Embiid is out. Bono or Drummond will start. Both will probably see around 20-ish minutes here. And then PG is listed as questionable. That's Paul George for you who don't know. If Paul George gets ruled out, we could see Kelly O play and start like we did yesterday. Quentin Grimes sees a bit of a boost in that situation as well, alongside guys like VJ and Maxi see a boost in usage too. Anyone stand out for you on the Sixer side of this game?
So part two of my philosophy when Embiid is out is I play Maxi when that happens. So um, not one of my favorite matchups for him, but I mean he's going to have all the usage on this team and plays close to 40 minutes, and we've seen time after time again, especially when Embiid is out, he has one of the highest upsides on the slate. So 20% min there to make sure I have exposure, and then really not on anyone else. I did have some Paul George showing up, but I would honestly be fine not having any, which it looks like he fell off. VJ, I usually like taking a shot on two, but he just hasn't been playing as well, and 7,200 is too expensive for me to go there. Usually like attacking him when he's in the 6K range. And then as far as the bigs, it, ugly situation with the way they split their minutes. So not really looking forward to playing anybody there either. So
Yeah,
yeah, just Maxi for me.
yeah, we're just not getting any major discounts with those bigs. Uh, CJ was your guy, long win. Out of all the guys this
He's
playoff, CJ,
he's
hey,
so bad.
I'm not gonna crap on you too much, but low key, you kind of were asking for it. You're kind of asking for it. VJ, he has been on a slump. If Paul George gets ruled out, I'm interested in taking a shot on VJ,
Yeah.
but if Paul George plays, that's gonna be a pass for me.
I will say that I will play some VJ if PG gets rolled out.
Oh, if you're a Texans fan, then I respect it. I can respect that. I'm with you. Maxley is the only guy who makes sense for me here, and it's a brutal matchup. And so I don't even love the play, but it's one of those where at this price tag, he can still overcome the tough matchup. But I'll reiterate, this is a tough matchup for him. So 20% min, and that's going to be it. Next up, we have the Clippers going up against the Bulls. And these Clippers, they're viable. We know that this Bulls team is not a good defensive one, but the Clippers suck low key too. Kawhi Leonard is out. That's why we should see guys like Kobe Sanders move into the starting lineup like he's been doing. And then the other starters like Harden, Zubac, Miller, they all get a nice increase in usage as well. Plus the great matchup. You're seeing ownership here. Do you like the Clippers?
A couple guys. I think Harden is the obvious one. The
Yeah.
matchup is great, and Kawhi's still out. He's been playing in much better form, so great play, and currently have 65% of him. Love Zoo tonight too. We know Bulls are one of the worst defensive teams down low, so Zoo should eat and do whatever he wants against Vooch tonight. 7K in this spot with his kind of upside, I think is too cheap. So 20% men there just to make sure I'm at least at fill weight. Don't want him to go below that. The only other one I considered was Jordan Miller. About the last 3 or 4 games, he's been hovering around 40 fantasy points. He's just been balling, especially with Kawhi out. Should continue to play a ton of minutes. So I'm on the fence about playing him. I'm pretty close to 5% min there, but I'll be going back and forth. But yeah, Harden and Zoo are my main priorities.
Yeah, on a slate where we have a lot of teams I don't trust. I don't hate the shot on a guy like Jordan Miller, mid-range, soft matchup. It's just the minutes can be a little inconsistent, but that stabilizes without Kawhi some. So I'm with you. I'll put a 5% min on Miller. And then Zubac and Harden, they both have been showing up in a lot of my lineups without doing anything. I did put a 20% min on Zubac, though, just so I didn't have to worry about him falling as I made other changes. And then Harden, he's showing up in a lot of my lineups right now, but I know for a fact he's the highest owned stud. As I continue to put more mins on some of the other studs I like, that's only going to fall. So he's in a great spot. I like him, but he's the highest owned stud, so naturally I just won't go out of my way to prioritize him. Yeah, well, I know Jordan Miller's your guy after that night. Wagwan, Kevin, good to see you, man.
You gotta buy his jersey now.
Yeah, you do. I don't know where you find a Jordan Miller jersey, but you got to find a way to get it. Outside of that, I like these Clippers, but I just like the later games significantly more. That I'm just not going too crazy here. Anyone else you want to mention?
No, I will maybe Kobe Sanders. He's another value play on this team who's been playing a lot of minutes. If Cam Christie gets rolled out, I think that makes him a little more viable, but not a sexy play by any means.
Yeah, I get that. For the Bulls, they have a tough matchup against the Clippers. Chicago, they have Josh Giddey listed as questionable. He's been out multiple times this season. We kind of know what they do at this point if he doesn't play. And then Patrick Williams is questionable. If he gets ruled out, that's like a boost to guys like Buzelis, Jalen Smith, just other role fillers here. Anyone here standing out for you?
No, I couldn't find one reason to play anybody here. Matchup's just not that great, and Giddy potentially coming back just makes these guys unplayable because they're still priced up as if he were out. So pretty much an easy fade for me here.
Yeah, if Giddy ends up getting ruled out, some of these guys are slightly more viable, but for now, it's going to be a hard pass. Though, and to be fully transparent, the only way I'm really considering these guys is if we get a mixture of Giddy and Williams out. Then you might be able to talk me into some of these 6K guys. All right, one more really bad game before we get to something that's better. We have the Spurs going up against the Rockets, another two good defensive teams going up against each other. For the Spurs tonight, only Devin Vassell is out. He's been out for a hot minute, though, so nothing new. Going up against a really good Rockets defense here. You like any of these players?
Not really. I did take one shot though. Like you said, both teams are pretty great defensively. One of those games I've said it before in the past where it's probably more fun to watch in person than play in DFS. But did take a 10% min shot on Dylan Harper. Not a safe play by any means, but there's a couple spots throughout the slate where uh, this 3 to 4K range, especially the low on ones, wanted to get in the mix with all the attention on Golden State. So Harper, he plays around 25 minutes and definitely volatile, but we've seen a couple times him get around 30 fantasy points. So if he can do that tonight, I think he's a sneaky play for sure. But like I said, volatile with Castle and Fox in the mix.
Yeah, I mean the guards for the Spurs, you should just always realize that it's very possible for them to go off. We've seen Castle do it, we've seen Harper do it, we've seen Fox do it. Wouldn't shock me if it's one of them tonight. I just can't get there against the Rockets. It's a dart throw, but taking a shot is never a bad play for me.
Yeah, we've never seen 4K Harper, I don't think. So with that price reduction, I was willing to take the risk.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense at that price tag. Other side of this game, very similar situation here. Wouldn't shock me if one of these guys go off, but no one stood out for me in particular. Curious if you like them a bit more. I know Terry Eason is questionable, but I mean he's questionable every game.
No, this is another frustrating team DFS wise. Their prices, I just feel like they never budge at all, and they keep going up. Like KD's price keeps going up. He had like 160-point game recently, but outside of that, he hasn't been the greatest, and they just keep raising it. And then Şengün has great upside, but 9,600 is just rough, especially going against Wemby. So yeah, no one's really standing out for me here. So
Yeah.
pretty easy fade.
And Steven Adams is out, so that and him being out for a while, that does give Jabari Smith some more consistent minutes. Maybe they toss Capella out there for a little bit. Like you said, I just don't love this matchup. Long way you were going through it. Yeah. The thing that's nice though for DFS when you see Houston teams, for me, I just think avoid. So it's usually really nice for me to be able to limit my pool of teams to look at. Next up, we have Minnesota going up against the Jazz. Highest game total on the slate, so you know it's one I'm looking at here. We've been saying it since early this season. Guys have their best games against the Jazz. From an injury perspective, though, Minnesota's pretty boring. No real injury news to talk about. A lot of ownership here. Who do you like?
Yeah, I love this team, almost the whole team. So
Yeah.
Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards are, of course, top two options here. Highest upside on the team, highest usage, highest points per minute guys. So love both of them, although blowout concerns are real for sure. But both of them are good enough to do enough damage early on before it gets to the point where they get pulled. So just going to eat that chalk. Let me see where I'm at. 67 on Randall, 23 on Edwards. So nothing too crazy. And then I put a 15% min on McDaniels. Inconsistent guy, but he has decent upside in this spot, around 40-point upside. So definitely want exposure in this spot. Gobert, too, another inconsistent guy, but Spot's too good not to have him. Same for Nas Reed. The only one I skipped out on, I had a 5% min on DiVincenzo at first, but then I was thinking about all the other guards on the slate and looking at his price tag too. I really don't love 6,700 for him. We've seen him like break a slate before and very well could do it in this spot, but point guard is just loaded tonight, and I was just being a little picky, so wouldn't talk you off of him, but I just decided not to go there. But pretty much everyone else above him, I'm taking a shot on.
Yeah, I'm with you here. My philosophy stays the same. When it comes to the Jazz, we don't always know which player will go off, but I know at least one will. And so, therefore, I'm going to force exposure to the vast majority of these guys. Thankfully, the DS is in agreement, so I don't have to really force men's, at least as of right now. Julius Randle's showing up in 50+% of my lineups. Anthony Edwards is showing up in 30+% of my lineups. As long as that remains the case, no men's. But if it's not, the men's going on quick, fast, and in a hurry. Jaden McDaniels is showing up in 16% of my lineups right now, right at field weight exposure. If that changes, I am willing to put a 15% min on him, but ideally I won't have to. And then I saw one more. Oh yeah, Rudy Gobert. I have a 20% min on. He's going to be a leverage play for me tonight. Rudy Gobert, another one of those bigs who just typically does well in soft matchups. Rudy can be one of those guys that sometimes he wants to be aggressive, sometimes he's not, especially if guys like Ant or Randall are going off. He might decide to just call it a chill night, but typically you see his big games against teams like Charlotte, Pacers, Washington. When there's a soft, and Pelicans, of course, when there's a soft front court, that's when he attacks. And I don't know who the hell they're going to put on the other side of him in this game. So love the spot for him. And then no one else is showing up for me. And I don't care enough about the other guys to put him in on them. I agree with you. I thought about Dante, but it just feels like a little bit too thin of a play. Do you think about Nas Reed at all?
Yeah, I have a 5% min on him.
Yeah, I think I'll follow you and just do a 5 on him. Yeah, he's only one I'll be scared to not have any exposure to. So there we go. Other side of this game is when things get a little weird and gross. I think Utah has pissed everyone off at this point at least once or twice in the last few weeks. Lauri Markkanen is out, so of course all the other starters see a big usage rate. He's dealing with some illness. Bryce Sensabaugh is out. That's going to make guys like Ace Bailey, Walter Clayton, Collier, their floors a bit more stable. Kevin Love is out. We've seen the bigs here become a bit more viable there. And then the other injuries here have been going on for a while. The tough thing here for the Jazz is this is a really tough matchup going up against a good defensive team in the Timberwolves. So they're just not quite as exciting as they are, every once in a blue moon. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, only like a couple guys here. First, I'll start with Walter Clayton Jr. I typically don't do this, but I just have a feeling, and I'm sure a lot of others do too, that Utah's not going to really keep this game that close. And situations like that, we've seen many times Clayton plays around 30 minutes and can get you around 30 fantasy points. So at 3,700 in that scenario, I threw a love on him and we'll be making him a core play tonight. So been hovering around 60% on exposure to him. So we'll be close to double the field there. And then Keontae, won't go on a long crazy rant on him like I normally do, and not doing anything crazy like making him a core play. But even in a spot like this at 8,100, I'm still going to play him. He's been slightly better last couple games. Last 2 games, at least 45 fantasy points. Thing with him is he's cursed on being on a shitty team. So if it does blow out, then of course that hurts his upside. But he's another player who's good enough to do some damage before getting pulled. So willing to take a shot there with the 15% min. And then I don't think I really need to cover how gross the rest of this team is. I will say if you want to take a punt, they should run Nurk quite a bit with Minnesota being a bigger team. So I wouldn't hate like a 5% min there, but I just like other center spots better. But
Yeah,
outside of that, can't go anywhere else.
talking about price tags not making any sense. Nurkic's price tag 7,400 with all the stuff he's been doing. That should be lower. He was literally in the 6K range last week. And this is a tough matchup. It doesn't matter. I don't disagree. At this point, if Nurkic starts, he did play last time out. I'm not against having some exposure here, especially just given the high total here. Kante George will be another leverage play for me tonight. I have a 20% min on him. I'm thinking about increasing it to 25, but for now, I'll keep it at 20. He's been better the last few games. Yeah. And the thing I have to keep reminding myself about is that this team, even like without marketing, has kept it surprisingly close in other weird matchups and spots. I do think they get blown out tonight, but I'm not going to not have exposure to Keontae George, who's now proven it to me time and time and time again that he can overcome these tough matchups. We saw it against the Knicks. We saw it against the Thunder. The list can literally go on. So even though I do like him more when a guy like Markkanen is playing, he does rate out better in those situations. I'm still going to take a shot on a low-owned guy in the highest total game environment on the slate. And then Nurkic, you're not doing anything now, are you? That's just something you're potentially thinking about doing?
No, I was just saying, like, if somebody wanted to take a shot on somebody else here, I can see that play working out just with matchup wise. They're them needing him quite a bit tonight, going
Yeah.
against a bigger front court.
Yeah. My issue, I just never really know if Nurkic is going to play, which is why, who said it? Someone was like, Nurkic is a fade for the rest of the season, which I get. I'll put a 5% min on him just 'cause I think most people are worried about that.
Yeah, the games he sat out make sense though because the teams are playing small ball, and I know he's been battling a injury too. So I think it was a combination of both of those things. But like I said, they would be stupid not to play him in this spot because you got Gobert and Nas. So
I just think they're tanking.
I mean that's true too, but still.
But I feel you. I'll put a 5% min on him and call it a day there. And then Walter Clayton, he's showing up in 62% of my lineups naturally. So technically in that core play territory for me, at least close to double the field there, which is nice. Next up, we have Toronto going up against the Warriors. These are two of my least favorite teams to ever see on a slate. For Toronto, Colin Murray Boyles is out, which means Mamu should continue to start here. And there's no real new injury news outside of that. RJ Barrett's not playing. He's been out for a while now. Matchup against the Warriors is never my favorite, but they do struggle on defense sometimes. You taking a shot here?
Mamu will probably be my only play from here. No Murray Boyles, Podol still out. He should get a ton of run at the 5 tonight, and only 5,400 against a smaller Golden State front court. I like him quite a bit. 25%. I was getting more, so I'll kind of keep an eye on that. As far as Ingram and Barnes, I'm not going to force them in. Don't like their price tags at all. So if they burn me, they burn me. But I'm willing to fade both of those guys. I did consider quickly, but again, point guard is loaded, so I'm going elsewhere. Even consider Agbaji where Murray Boyles out, just because of his price and the amount of minutes he plays. But this number right here is disgusting. 0.59 points per minute. His usage is so low and not great at really doing anything. So play him now that I said that because I'm sure he's going to smash. But yeah, Mamu only for me here.
I wish I could find a reason to play Scotty Barnes or Emmanuel quickly just because they're low owned and the total is not awful. The Warriors did play last night. There is no Jimmy Butler. So that could also impact things here. And especially from like a defensive standpoint. The more I think about it, the more I should take a shot here. Will, I see you mentioned Cody Williams in that last game. Cody Williams is a shooting guard, small forward, eligible for Utah. Did you give Cody Williams any thought, Brandon?
I did not.
Hey, Will, man, you've been getting hot though, so I'm never mad about taking a shot on someone like that.
Follow your gut.
Yeah. For me here with the Raptors, just because they're low owned, I'm going to put a 10% min on Scotty Barnes and a 10% min on Quickly. And then I don't want to not have exposure to Ingram here either. So I'll put a 15% min on him. Just really trying to make sure I get some exposure to this game. And then Sandro, he's showing up in 78% of my lineups right now. I do think by the time we get through these next two games that ownership will fall to probably around like that 50% range. And if it doesn't, I will cap him at 60%. All right. Next up, we have the Warriors side of this game. And Golden State tonight is why you're going to have to late swap tonight. My least favorite sentence, Golden State Warriors and late swapping, because it just means my worst nightmare is happening. I have to think about these guys. Jimmy Butler, he's out. He's going to be out for a while, which means a lot of people are expecting Will Richard to move into the starting lineup because of that. Automatically, Butler being gone is a big usage rate increase for guys like Stephen Curry and Draymond Green. But with that being said, Draymond Green is questionable, which means we have to think about guys like Quentin Post, Jackson Davis. Those are guys who will see a boost in both minutes and usage if Draymond Green ends up not playing. Will Richard is questionable. That's one of those guys that we might expect to start with Jimmy Butler ruled out. And so if he's out, we have to look even further down the list to guys like Moody, Melton, Heald. Gross ass names, man. This Warriors team. And we're not done yet. Guy Santos is questionable, and if he gets ruled out, that just makes these other random forwards slightly more viable. He plays like we have him projected for 15 minutes, anywhere from like 10 to 15 minutes, usually if someone like Jimmy Butler's out. So very gross situation, but it's a situation we will have to have exposure to. What's your thought process around this at this point?
Yeah, I typically hate playing the Golden State turds, but it's hard not to in this situation with Butler out and the prices that they're at. Podzimski is, I mean, I'm not going to overthink that. Last 3 games, he's scored over 30 fantasy points. I think DraftKings was drunk when they picked his price. I think last game he was at 5K, and then he put up like 40 fantasy points, and now he's 4,300. So not going to complain about it, but don't understand that whatsoever. So I'll have close to 100% of him tonight. Moody is my second favorite value play on here, especially if Draymond misses. But I think I saw somewhere Kerr is leaning towards playing him. But anyways, even if he does play, Moody sees just a ton of minutes. One of the cheapest options on this team, and similar upside to most of these other value plays. So love him, especially you can play him at small forward and shooting guard. So just a great lineup builder, and threw a like on him too, just to make sure he kind of stays in that core range. So pretty close to 60% there. Everyone else I just threw him in on to let me need a bump up Melton, but yeah, I put him in on to at least match the field on. I will say Post I do like quite a bit too with Horford out. Of course he'd be a better play with Draymond out, but I think he gets solid runs still at 3,800. So he's probably my third favorite value play. And then definitely wanted to take a shot on Curry too. Hasn't been in the best form, but 8,800 with no Butler, definitely taking a shot there.
Yeah, to me, the only thing I care about here with the Warriors is making sure I have Steph Curry exposure. He was chalky yesterday, disappointed people. Less chalky today, in pretty much the same spot, but Jimmy Butler's gone. So makes it pretty easy for me to really want Curry exposure. I have a 20% min on him, and he's not even that pricey. I put a 15% min on Melton just to kind of make sure he doesn't fall off. But the truth of the matter is here, we're just going to have to react and respond to this news and late swap. Doesn't really matter what you do now, as long as you late swap later, you'll get the right guys in your lineups. It's part of why I hate late swap, because you don't have to think at all. It's just whoever presses the button last. But it is what it is. It's fine. Looks like we got the news that Paul George is out. Do you see that?
Yep, and Giddy and Patrick Williams are out too. I don't think we mentioned that.
Yeah, I don't care too much about the Bulls one. Maybe I
Yeah.
should. Maybe it makes guys like Kobe White a little bit more viable. But the Sixers are a bit more interesting now that we have to actually think about them. So we'll run back through it. Next up, we have the Heat going up against the Kings for Miami. Tyler Hero is out, and then Khalil Ware is questionable. With that being said, they still have a really deep rotation here, but the Kings are a team we can pick on. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I love this team overall. So I'm playing quite a bit of these guys. Didn't have to do anything with Wiggins. His price is great, plays a ton of minutes, and has 40 plus point upside. So let's see, I am at 38%. Was getting a lot of Powell too. I didn't put him in on him or anything. He does have great upside, but very volatile as well. So slightly under the field at 15%, which I'm definitely okay with. Bam, one of the most frustrating guys to play in DFS, but when it makes sense, I play him. He should smash in this spot, only 7,500. So threw a 20% in there. Jaquez is another mid-range 5K guy who can get you 30 to 40 points. Davion's been playing in much better form. Been kind of hovering around 30 fantasy points, so only 4.7K. Definitely wanted exposure there. Need to readjust some of these minutes. And then Pell is another wanted to throw in the mix to have some spots different than the Warriors value. And then Fontecchio as well, which he's another guy I don't really understand his price drop on. He is volatile, but he has been pretty solid the last couple games. So almost min price playing 20 plus minutes, going over the field there with the 10% min. And if Ware misses, some of these value plays get even better. So
Real. I sorry, Pokey, I missed this. He said, "How about Kaminga?" That's a real
not,
question. How about Kaminga? We're only thinking about him if Draymond was to get ruled out, and probably need one or two of those other guys. I don't
yeah.
think they're really ever going to play
Kuminga's
together.
on the trade block, so I'm not touching him.
I will consider it though. If he ended up starting randomly, that's the
I
kind of
mean,
drama
that'd be
I
a
would
different
want to
story.
see.
Yeah,
If
he would have to start.
they would have to lose like 2 to 3. Like Will Richard would have to be out, Draymond would have to be out, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Pokey also asked about Kelly Oubre. We'll get back to that game. If he starts, he's viable, and we'll get that starting lineup here soon if we don't have it already. I am with you on a lot of this. I think our mins are pretty much matching up. I have a 20% min on Bam. I did put a 25% min on Powell. Like you said, he's probably been like the most consistent Heat player, but he's been lacking the ceiling the other guys have when they pop off. So I might lower that to 20 instead of 25. I don't have to be over the field on him. I just want exposure, especially just to have more late swapping options. Wiggins is the guy I have the absolute most exposure to. I have a 30% min on him. And then he also shows up naturally. 20% min on Jaime, 15 on Mitchell, 10 on Larson. So yeah, we're doing pretty much the same thing there. And then that's it for me with the Heat. Other side of this game's a little bit tougher to figure out. They're all insanely low owned, but probably for good reason. Sabonis is back, so Sacramento is healthy. Keegan Murray, he's been out for a while, so I'm not really counting that. Matchup is solid. It's just that with Sabonis back, it's hard for me to look at any of these guys, but you're still taking shots. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, just a couple. Game total like this, I at least wanted a couple shots here. So pretty gross play, but I put a 5% min on Cardwell. I've been playing him the last couple games. They've just been giving him a good run around 20 minutes, especially with Sabonis still limited. They're not ramping him up quite yet. So still willing to go there in an environment like this. He just continues to pay off this cheap price tag, so willing to take a punt there. And then Westbrook, he can be a scary play, but he's been pretty solid recently. Last 4 games, at least 40 fantasy points, and in a fast-paced matchup like this, in Miami, they typically bleed a lot of points to point guards, willing to take a shot on Russ. Um, Consider Levine and DeRozan for a second, and then
Yeah.
realize how bad they were, and skipped right over them. So
Wow. It almost feels wrong that you put Levine in the same sentence as DeRozan. DeRozan's been better. He's been better.
yeah, I mean, way better. The only thing with Levine is he's cheaper, of course, and he's had a couple of games where he showed like a little glimmer of hope, but
Yeah, just a small one. I am pretty much aligned with you. The Cardwell shot I never thought of, but I like it. I'll put a 5% min on him and follow you on that. Westbrook, I have a 5% min on. Like you said, it's just the game environment. I don't love the spot for him. Same exact thing with DeMar DeRozan, but lower ownership. I have a 5% min on him. I can't really make a great case about how great of a play he is, but he has started to hit like 35, 40 fantasy points a bit more consistently. And at his price tag, that can be enough on a slate like this that it's starting to look weirder and weirder as the slate goes on. So more opportunities for rebounds in a fast-paced game. I'll take that shot all day, every day. Next up, we have Lakers going up against the Nuggets. Maybe the forgotten game of the slate. You're not really hearing a lot of people talk about it. For LA, no new injury news to talk about. Who are you liking here?
so at first I almost skipped past this game, but then I thought about it. I was like, this game probably has some potential to
Yeah.
like produce some low owned like plays that could end up in the nuts. So I didn't think this was a Luka slate. Also, don't I mean I haven't seen what a line looks like at his price, but of course his upside is crazy high, but he's just too expensive to get one of his like average 50 to 60 point games. We need like 70 plus out of him. So not sure if this is a spot for that, but I did like the matchup for Braun a lot more than Luca. So 9K willing to take a shot, just easier to fit him in. Um, Front court for Denver is struggling a bit more, so definitely willing to play Braun. Outside of a couple of blowout games, he's been much better too. Kind of right under. He's been getting like between 50 to 60 fantasy points. So definitely willing to take a shot on him tonight. And then DeAndre Ayton, I put a 10% min on too to get a little leverage. Again, this front court is weaker without Jokic. Um, Ayton is very volatile, but uh, he's had a few good games recently and can get you around 40 fantasy points. So like him at his price tag. So just those two and no one else.
Not gonna lie, I thought you were pulling that out of your ass that Aiton's had some good games recently. I
Yeah.
liked Aiton just because it's a soft matchup, but I was like, oh, this is just a crazy play that makes no sense. You're
Yeah.
right though. He's had some recent 40-point performances. Look at him. Look at him. I like the spot just because I like attacking the Nuggets without Jokic and crew. So I'm with you, 10% min on Aiton, 10% min on James. I just called it a day. I also didn't get to Luca, even though I don't think it's the craziest to match the field. I just don't think we have, at least yet. If the Warriors end up having a ton of guys out, then I would expect to have a little bit more Luca because we have value. I just feel better about. But right now, we just don't have a ton of value, so I don't feel the need to pay up there yet. Other side of this game, we have the Denver Nuggets going up against the Lakers. And for Denver, we've mentioned it. No Giannis Valanciunas. That's their center, their backup center. No Jokic. That's their main center. Cam Johnson's still out. Brown is still out. All of this is already pretty much baked into their price tags here. Who do you like, though?
Just a few guys here. Aaron Gordon, of course. I still think there's some meat on the bone at 6,700. Decent matchup for him. So didn't have to do anything there. He is at 38%, so I'll be over the field there. Murray, willing to go right back to him. This team as a whole just sucked last game, and they got blown out, and starters didn't play a full game. So I think that's why his ownership is so low. I mean, like I said, guard is loaded too, so that's part of it. But I think people are worried about last game, but still going to play him in this spot. And then Hardaway is just another 4K guy that I'm going to continue to attack, especially at this lower ownership. He's playing 30 plus minutes. We know what he can do when his shot is on. So 10% min there. I wouldn't talk you off of a Peyton Watson play either, but he's definitely cooled down from what he was doing before.
Yeah. Hey, Tim Hardaway, man, he's your guy. You're never gonna give up on him. I love it. And you're right though, like he can get hot. And I think it's something that goes a little underappreciated in DFS is how someone has a bad game or even a series of bad games, people will just jump off of them, jump off of them. But sometimes if you're just consistent playing that guy at field weight ownership, you don't have to go crazy. But when he hits, you're in a significantly better spot instead of being like, oh, I've been playing him for 5 slates, play him for 6, and then he'll hit all the 6. So I respect it, is what I'm saying. Do I have a 10% min on Tim? No, I do not, but I understand it. I have a 30% min on Aaron Gordon. I wanted to make sure he showed up. I like him at this price range. Maybe it's chasey. I know you don't like it too much, but I have a 5% min on Watson, just kind of chasing that performance and upside that he had that it seems he has lost. And then I'm going to be over the field on Jamal Murray. Almost a leverage play, not fully. I have a 20% min on him. Like you said, a guy's been down and out. Would not shock me at all if he comes back with a vengeance tonight. He's someone I want to be over the field on, even though we do have limited opportunities at guard because there are just so many that we really have to value those spots. John said, as a Lakers fan, Ayton runs hot and cold like AD, but still a good play. True. He's been hotter than normal. Showtime likes Peyton. All right. Yeah. So interesting slate, y'all. We'll go back and look at the Sixers right quick. Projections did update. Doesn't like too much really move though. Besides Maxey probably showing up a bit more for people now. And did we get a starting lineup here? I don't think so. No, we definitely do.
Maxey, Edgecombe, Oubre, Barlow, and Drummond.
Okay. So pretty much as expected. I'll
I will
rerun.
play some Oubre now for sure.
Yeah. With Oubre in the starting lineup, and especially after yesterday, he was going nuts. I feel like we see this like every once in a blue moon. Kelly O will just go on like a hot streak, and then eventually he'll go back to being irrelevant again.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think us being over on Maxey still good. No PG. I'm with
I don't
you.
hate a shot on Barlow. He is inconsistent, but we've seen him have like random smash games too.
Okay. Is that something you plan on doing? Are you gonna take a shot on Barlow or no?
I might throw a 5% min on him.
Yeah, where I'm at right now is 20% min on Maxey, but actually I'm gonna increase that to 25, just so because 20 was just around field weight exposure. I want to be over, so 25 on him, and then I'll put a 10% min on BJ. Almost leverage play. He's someone I want to be over on. And then you mentioned, was it Barlow?
Yeah, Barlow and Oubre.
Yeah, I'll put a 5% min on Barlow, get a little bit of exposure. I put a 5% min on Drummond. Suns have been good defensively. I still don't respect their front court too much. I know who Mark Williams is. He can still do well here, Drummond. So 5% min there. And then Kelly O, I'll do I think 10% safe. I'll do 15 just to kind of go a little bit over the field there. I think that's it. I like this setup. Anything else you'll add or anything else you're kind of doing?
Yeah, I'll continue to keep an eye on ownership, so I'll adjust. But I don't want to go too crazy on VJ because again, I don't like the price, but I do like him slightly more with PG out. So 5% definitely okay with being a little over on Oubre at 5.2K. So 10% there, and then just a 5% man on Barlow. I'm not sure if I want to do Drummond just because his form is
Yeah.
pretty rough right now.
It's been bad. It's been bad. Definitely not a must play. Everyone needs to have them, which is what I like about the Sixers is that the later games are so good still that we don't have to make any of these guys a core play or anything like that. It's just guys we want exposure to, even in a very difficult matchup, which is nice at low ownership. You don't have to go wild on it. All right. I think that's going to be it. If you all are not DFS Army members, you should be. Click the link in the description. Use promo code BEATUP for a 10% discount there. Feel free to reach out in the Discord if you have more questions that you weren't able to ask on the show. Actually, John said, any love for Grimes? Quentin Grimes, 5,400. You give him any additional thought, Brandon?
I'm okay with it. I wouldn't talk you off because he has shown some upside, but I'm not going to make him a priority or anything.
Yeah, call it a bias because he definitely can. There's just certain guys I don't care about. Grimes is one of those guys. He will go off. He will have strong performances. I usually like him a bit more when a guy like Maxey is out more than George. But when Maxey plays, I'm just like, okay, if he gets me because he's playing a bit more of the wing, then he gets me. So that's going to be it, y'all. Peace out. See you tomorrow.